Hey guys, I came up with another what if. This one, if you don't understand the title or thumbnail, Midori is going to have a quirk based on the Pokemon move Metronome. Metronome is a move that the user shakes their fingers or hands like a metronome, and then they use a completely random move. So in this case, I'm actually going to use a metronome generator, so I'm going to pick what happens when he gets the powers, not the powers themselves, besides for a few moments that you probably will be able to tell. Midoriya and Bakugo would be hanging out, and let's say they'd be playing a game. Midoriya would wing and fling his arms like a metronome, or shake him like he just doesn't care, just for the heck of it. Midoriya then would throw his hands forward to say, "I beat ya," but a giant amount of water would come out, flying out as a wave, blowing Bakugo away. Thankfully, they'd be outside so no one would cause any damage. Midoriya and Bakugo would freak out and then go to the beach to test out Midoriya's quirk, which they suspect is, water. Midoriya would then go and try to make a giant wave. They'd both be confused because nothing happened. They try to figure it out, and Midoriya would try what they did before he made the wave. He made his hands go in the metronome motion again. All of a sudden, he'd start to feel a bit hot. He'd breathe out very heavily, and a small patch of fire would come out. Bakugo and Midoriya would freak out. They then understand Midoriya has a randomizer-like quirk that activates whenever he makes a metronome motion. They then figure out that he can only use the power once, like the power he gets once, unless it's an effect which he can use for a minute. He can only randomize a power for 10 times a day. Midoriya would then start to train his body for what could happen and also to be strong in general, because he wouldn't know what would happen. So what I'm going to do is that when he uses metronome, is that he'll know how to use the power now. He just don't know what will happen unless, it boosts his stats. Also, there are going to be a few moves that he doesn't know how to use. It'll just be random. Eventually, they grow up and are in the middle school. And of course, they're still friends. When Midoriya decides to walk home alone, and on his way, he runs into a slime monster. Midoriya gets scared and is about to attack him, but then he uses metronome, which he's gonna call at this point because they realize it's like a metronome. And all of a sudden, he tells himself to shove his hands out to fire an attack. All of a sudden, a ball of psychic energy bursts out of his hands, and the monster goes flying into a wall and faints. That's when All Might appears and sees that the villain was taken care of. All Might asks if Midoriya did this, and Midoriya says yes. He then, of course, thanks him and gives him an autograph before he jumps away. And before he jumps away, though, Midoriya quickly stops to ask him a question. All Might stops to listen, and Midoriya asks, Is it possible to become a hero, just like you? Even if my quirk acts randomly, I can risk hurting myself?" All Might stops for a moment and says, "All heroes must take risks, kid, even with their quirk especially. Plus, you seem to be able to handle yourself back there, so if being a hero is what you want, then go for it." All Might then jumps away with the slime monster, since Midoriya didn't mess him up, and Midoriya heads home. All Might also hears about the #1 student in UA named Mirio, sorry if I pronounce his name wrong, and agrees to give him one for all, since that who was originally going to get it. Midoriya and Bakugo would then continue to train. We're now going to skip ahead to the exam where Midoriya gets excited and falls in front of UA. Midoriya gets stopped, though, by a girl who said that she thought it'd be okay if she used her quirk to help him. They learn the rules and get to their spots. I'm not going to explain the rules, because if you're watching this, you already know the rules. Midoriya sees the girl again, but is stopped by a tall man with big calves, who says he will not let him mess her up. The exam begins and everyone runs in. Midoriya sees two robots next to each other and runs at them. He then uses a metronome, and all of a sudden, a pink gas from his body that smells sweet is released. All of a sudden, people are destroying more robots, but more robots are hitting more people. Midoriya tries again. All of a sudden, Midoriya can feel his speed go through the roof, and he runs. He runs past the robots, but jumps right back on their backs, and flips their on and off switch, which is a way of obtaining points. He does this for a bunch of robots surrounding him until he slows down. He uses Metronome again. He then pulls a present out of his shirt and questions it for a second before throwing it at a half-destroyed robot that someone left behind. Midoriya looks, but all of a sudden, the robot starts to come back together. It turns towards Midoriya and starts charging. Midoriya, as he's screaming, uses Metronome, and his scream becomes very high-pitched, and the robot's glass eye shatters when it is screamed at, and then it falls apart. And the same for all the robots a couple of meters further behind it. Midoriya is doing really well destroying robots, but then the zero pointer shows up, and Midoriya decides to run, but stops at the scream of someone. It was the girl from earlier who helped him. He realized he can't stop and run. And his body starts to move on its own. He uses Metronome, and all of a sudden, he flies. He flies and charges right into the robot's head. Midoriya then begs that he'll get something strong from using Metronome. He waves his hands, and 1 second goes by. Nothing happens. Midoriya screams with anger, but all of a sudden, he explodes. I'm going to say self-destruct damages him like a Pokemon, and you use it so he isn't dead in the first episode. So the robot's head gets blown to oblivion, and Midoriya starts to fall. He tells himself he has to do something, but he slowly starts to black out. He faints, and, well, blacks out. He wakes up in a nurse's office, and is confused, and asks who realizes the recovery girl what happened. She says she healed him, and he asks how he survived the fall, and says, "The young girl that you were trying to save also saved you." He then thanks her and goes home, wondering if this would ruin his chances of gaining the UA. Midoriya waits with Bakugo, he also told what happened. They finally get their letters. Bakugo opens his first and says he got first and did a great job. Midoriya then opens his, and it says the same thing like in the show, where Uraraka, who doesn't know yet, goes in to talk about, well, that she wants to give her points to him for saving him. But of course, they both get in. And Bakugo and Midoriya, both with tears in their eyes for being able to get this chance to get in the UA, hug each other with enjoyment. Well, that's where I'll end it, folks. Hope you guys like this goofy idea I had. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button if you're not subscribed. Come on, press it. And don't forget to ring-a-ding that bell to be notified of when I upload. Unless, you don't want to do any of that stuff. Anyways, my fools and ghouls, your jester, your foolish jester, is out.